about why is it so hard for healers to get paid, right? Why is it so hard for healers to get paid? That is the topic in the training today. And it's interesting because, if you were to ask somebody like, okay, if you were to talk to a doctor or a nurse or an engineer and they said, well, I make X amount of dollars, on a consistent basis for this thing that I do. Most of us wouldn't really question that they're getting paid for their expertise. And yet, all the clients that have been working with us, all the people in our community, they've been on this healing path for decades. They have invested thousands and tens and thousands of dollars in their training, in their professional training. They have had hours, thousands of hours of their own personal work and their work in their field. And yet, when I, propose this idea of, well, okay, let's take that expertise, right? Everything that you've accumulated and package it and position it for you as the expert, and so that you can provide people with a certain outcome. So there's always like a beginning and an end. Like if you're a specialist in a hip surgery, people understand like you, that's what you do, right? So if you're somebody who helps people with binge eating, if you help veterans, move out of suicide or move out of that kind of state of post-traumatic stress, if you help people with ADHD live a life that they're not constantly feeling like the way their brain works is something wrong, if you help people with debilitating anxiety, you have a beginning and you have an end, right? And so what I teach all of our clients is really to understand what that is for you. And this is, yes, where the marketing comes from, but really it's coming from what has always been calling you from the beginning. When you started teaching, when you started your path in your life as a child, with your students, with your teachers, you will notice, and really just take a moment to think about this. You will notice there are certain people that are get drawn to you, right? And for me, it's always been a combination of those who have kind of a high level of anxiety and maybe a lack of confidence in promoting themselves in their business. It's just sort of been the combination, okay, for me. So I start to accept that this is, the thing that naturally I love to teach. So it doesn't necessarily mean that just because there's something that you're attracted to, that it's the thing. The other thing is you want to feel like that's the thing that you're compelled to do it, and there's this calling, and also there's something about when you're doing that, you're in flow, okay? So what happens is often when I ask, our clients, or I propose this model of like, okay, take your expertise, package it and position it as you as the expert, because you are the expert, and we just have to figure out your zone of genius, your magic, and price it at a premium. So what I teach our clients is to move out of the dollar per hour model, because unfortunately with that model, it's wonderful at the beginning, and it's wonderful as a model, but a model in itself, what also occurs is that you could only have a certain amount of clients, and you only have a certain amount of energy. And if you have a certain income goal, right, or I wouldn't even say income goal, a life goal of what it is you want to do, that requires a tool of income, the tool of money. It's very hard to sustain the dollar per hour model, because what happens is you end up burning out. Okay, so I know so many people who have, run studios, work one-on-one, have their clients, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful training ground, and I'm not saying never and not to do it. I'm just saying that in that model itself, it also, the outcome is often burnout, because at a certain point we realize, well, okay, after 20 clients a week or 10 clients or whatever your max is, by the time I get to my family, by the time I get to, I'm spent, I'm burnt. And so I talk about, like, we're starting to pay with the most expensive currency there is, which is our joie de vie, which is our, which is our calling, which is our what it is that we love. So for me, that's too expensive. So what I try to teach people is take your expertise, understand the cost that it is, the cost that your clients are paying, not in money, but in their life, right? Their joie de vie, in their life force, in their currency. And guess what? When currency of your life force gets too small, it gets to a dangerous kind of place where your mental capacity and your will to sort of thrive and even survive and live gets a little too low, right? So we need to be conscious of where that it eventually ends up. So for your clients and yourself, we have to understand that currency is too expensive for the spirit to pay.